My name is David Kay. I'm here on behalf of Memphis Meats. We are a food company based out of Berkeley, California, and we're developing a way to produce real meat by growing animal cells without the need to raise and slaughter animals. And I want to start briefly by touching on the why. Why was our company founded? Why is it important to innovate new methods of meat production? Well, at Memphis Meats, we believe two things. The first is that meat is great. It tastes delicious, and it is such a core component of human culture and history. In fact, 90% of the world's population eats meat, and by 2050, demand for meat is expected to double. So that's number one, meat is great. Number two is that the process in which meat is produced today is overdue for innovation, and in particular, it poses some interesting challenges for the environment, for animal welfare, and for public health. So, for instance, modern meat production uses about a third of the world's land and water, and it emits about a fifth of the world's greenhouse gas emissions. Now, to put that second number in perspective, that's more than the entire transportation industry emits. And finally, it's not a particularly efficient way of producing protein. To get just 1 calorie of beef via a cow requires about 23 calories of inputs in the form of animal feed and other things. So all of this is just to say that the modern meat industry is a resource-intensive industry. And with demand for meat expected to grow as rapidly as it is in the coming decades, there are simply not enough resources to feed a hungry planet. And for that reason, it is imperative that we diversify and innovate new additional methods to work alongside traditional methods to sustainably feed the world. So that's where we come in at Memphis Meats. And what we're doing, as I said, is growing meat from animal cells without the need to raise and slaughter animals. And I want to walk you through exactly what that process looks like. Before I do that, though, just a quick refresher on how meat is produced today. So I'm talking about this bottom pathway here. So all meat starts from cells, and typically those cells grow inside an animal's body. We feed the animals grass, for instance, and the macronutrients from that food nourishes the cells inside the animal's body and allow them to grow and multiply. And once the animal and its cells have grown sufficiently, it is slaughtered and turned into meat. At Memphis Meats, we're just changing one step in that equation. So we also start with cells. We obtain a small number of high-quality animal cells from livestock animals. And instead of growing those inside an animal's body, we grow them inside what we're calling cultivators. Now, who here has ever been to a beer brewery? So that's what it will look like at scale. We'll have big tanks inside of which we're essentially brewing meat. And what's happening inside those cultivators is we're feeding the cells nutrients. And these are the same things a cow would get from eating grass, for instance. These are amino acids, lipids, sugars, water, oxygen. And once the cells have grown sufficiently, we harvest them and we cook them and prepare them the same way you would conventionally produce meat. This is one example of an output of that system. This is a beef meatball that we produced in early 2016. It was our debut, our media debut to the world. We had a piece in the Wall Street Journal. We had a viral video. And we did this when we were less than 6 months old as a company and only had 4 staff, including the founders. And the reason we did this at such an early stage is because we really wanted to bake transparency into the DNA of our company. We wanted to start having conversations with consumers as early as possible to talk to them about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it, so that they ultimately feel empowered and that they have the information they need. About a year later, we unveiled the world's first cell-based poultry products. So these were chicken and duck. And to be clear, this is the first bird meat that was produced without a bird. So we invited about 25 tasters to a kitchen in San Francisco. We cooked up the products, we had them taste, and we got unanimously positive reviews, which we were very happy about.
Tastes like chicken. Yes.
So we chose chicken because it's the most popular meat in America and soon will be in the world. We chose duck because while it's less relevant to American audiences, it has a lot of relevance overseas, and we wanted to show that we have a global presence. So I've alluded to some of the benefits of cell-based meat, but what are they more specifically? Well, at scale, we expect our process to require up to 90% less land and water than conventionally produced meat, and to emit up to 90% fewer greenhouse gas emissions. The environmental potential of these products is one of the core motivators in the founding of this company, and it's one of the things that gets us out of bed today. So we're really excited for this potential. We also expect significant benefits for public health. So what you're seeing right now is the result of an informal experiment we did where we got 3 different types of meat. We got conventionally produced poultry, organic poultry, and Memphis Meats cell-based poultry. And we plated these different samples and left them out in room temperature for about 48 hours. And we came back at the end of this 2-day period and checked for bacterial contamination. Now, all of that white stuff you see on the first 2 dishes is indicative of bacterial growth. And you'll notice there's no visible contamination on the Memphis Meats poultry. And the reason for that is very simple. Most of the bacterial contamination associated with modern meat production occurs at the point of slaughter. And because we're detaching slaughter from meat production, that is much less of a concern for us. Now, obviously, this has important implications in terms of public health and safety and food safety, but it also has important implications in terms of product recalls and spoilage and food waste and refrigeration. In the debate yesterday on the future food system, food waste was brought up as one of the potential low-hanging fruit that we could achieve in order to lessen the environmental impact of our food system. And this is one of the ways and one of the reasons why we're particularly excited about this innovation. About 2/3 of Americans would eat cell-based meat, and about half of that number say they would eat it regularly or even entirely swap out the conventionally produced meat in their diet for cell-based meat. We only expect those numbers to grow as more people learn what we're doing, why we're doing it, and how we're doing it. And as a result, we've been able to assemble a really diverse coalition of individuals and organizations who may have very different perspectives and motivations and life experiences, but can all unite around a common goal of innovating new methods of meat production. So for instance, pictured here are just a few of our investors, and they include impact investors like Bill Gates and Richard Branson, people who care deeply about the environment. They include top-tier financial firms like DFJ and Atomico. And importantly, they include icons of the food industry, including 2 of the largest meat companies in the world, Cargill and Tyson Foods, and Kimball Musk, who's a founding father of the real food movement. One of the things I've been really pleased about at this Breakthrough Institute conference is the extent to which food has been a part of the conversation. I think that the issues we are collectively working on are really a nasty jigsaw puzzle that we all need to collectively figure out. And I think it's important that food remains an integral part of that conversation because it can be a key part of the solution. So if there's anybody out there who's interested in what we're doing, wants to get involved, or just curious and wants to learn more about what we're doing, please come find me and let's chat. Thank you very much.